Hello, everyone. Jeremy Sanford here, your host of the Mastering Success podcast. I want to welcome you in. This podcast is intended to help you to transform yourself from being where you are to going to the next level. And we are so excited that on this first podcast, the first episode, we're going to be talking about what it means to master success. I'm your host, Jeremy Sanford, keynote speaker, business growth consultant. And we're so excited that you have joined us on today. This podcast, who is it for? It's for high achievers, visionaries, and those that refuse to settle for mediocrity. I've spent over 16 years helping businesses to go from good to great. I've helped businesses to not just survive, but to thrive. I've helped multi-million dollar companies coach leaders through transformative growth. And I've seen firsthand what separates those that have done well and those that have not. Thank you again for joining today's podcast. And what I want to talk about today is what it takes in order to master success. Did you know that success is not something that is just a one-time feat? Not something that you just achieve once, but it is something that you have to make a lifelong pursuit. Let me give you a little bit about my background. As a child, my mother and father have always been heavily involved in business. Some might say that business, entrepreneurship, and anything related to corporate endeavors is a part of my DNA. My mother was the manager of marketing for the post office. My father was a financial advisor for over 25 years. And so throughout my entire life, I've been involved in business. And so even through high school, I found out that I was really good at math, which caused me to go into the world of accounting. I went on to get my accounting degree. As a child, I also was very involved in sports. I believe that sports is what caused me to learn how to work with a team. It showed me how to be a leader. I was the point guard. I wasn't the tallest person on the team. I'm about 5'9", 5'10". And so I always was designated to be the point guard. The point guard, of course, most of you all know, has to be the person that knows all the plays, knows where everybody has to be the coach on the floor. So I believe that that was my starting point for being a leader. Um, so throughout my time as a child, I played several different sports: basketball, football, baseball, track, you name it. Um, and so it just has been a part of my life all the way up to this point. When I got to college, I went to Jackson State University, and going to a historically black college opened up my eyes to so many things. It opened up my eyes to see that there were some extremely bright individuals from all over the country that were motivated to be the best version of themselves. And they valued the ability to go to a college that was had the history of helping young black professionals, entrepreneurs, and people that would be leaders of industry. And I'm so glad that I went there. Yes, it had some disadvantages, but it definitely had some great advantages. And I believe that it played a pivotal role in me becoming the person that I am today. So my background came in accounting. I got my master's degree in accounting. As a young person, um, I've just always been involved in either sports or business. And so maybe that's where this motivational piece comes from. And maybe that's why I'm doing what I'm doing right now, which is motivation, helping others. Um, what drives me? What drives me is helping people to become a better version of themselves. So on a local level, um, I have worked with the youth at my church for over 12 years. It happens to be one of the largest youth departments in the country. And throughout that time, we have had a tremendous youth department. I've helped to train young people, help them to push to their full potential. And that has been an extremely rewarding experience. And even though I have stepped on to other things, that burning desire to help others is still there. And so that's what I want to do through this podcast is to leave you with something that will help you to be a better version of yourself. And that's why we call it mastering success. Yes, we have had success in some type of way, but at the same time, we want to have success time and time again. And it takes a relentless effort in order for that to take place. So, what drives me helping others, being better than I was yesterday, I personally believe that we should all endeavor to be a better person than we were on yesterday. We should endeavor to be um, better people, more motivated, a better version of ourselves. If you're the same person that you were 5 years ago, 10 years ago, then maybe this podcast is for you because we want you to become the best version of yourself. And no matter what age you are, there's still room for improvement. And the last thing that drives me is pleasing God. So I can't separate business from my relationship with God. Over 16 years ago, um, I finally got a relationship with God. God saved me, and here I am today on this podcast saying that my ultimate goal and what drives me is making sure that He's pleased. He gave me a purpose, and I want to fulfill that purpose. And one of the things that I believe that He gave me to do is to use my voice to change the world, to use my voice to help people such as yourself to become a better version of who you are. Um, and God gave us all purpose. Believe it or not, your purpose is much bigger than your background. Your purpose is much bigger than where you came from. Your purpose is defined by God and it was created by God. And if you don't accomplish your God-given purpose while you're here on earth, then you really did not accomplish what you were supposed to accomplish. So, some of my achievements that the Lord has blessed me to accomplish is I've been able to get three degrees. I've gone on to work for the federal government for over 16 years. I've made close to $1 million in my career. I've been able to help to lead one of the most thriving youth departments in the nation at Greater Bethlehem Temple in Jackson, Mississippi. I've helped entrepreneurs to scale their businesses and so many other things that we can highlight on today. But I am extremely grateful that the Lord has blessed me to have a voice and a platform that I can help someone like yourself. So let's jump right in. You're a busy person. You don't have time to be waiting. You want the information, right? So success. When we talk about mastering success, you have to understand that success is not a destination. So let's get that out of the way. Success is not a destination. Success is a mastery game. Success is about mastering your craft, mastering your skills and your abilities, and that's not just a destination. Most people think that success is a finish line. And so they set a goal, they hit a milestone, and they say, whew, I'm gonna take my bed of ease and I'm gonna relax because I made it. But here's the truth. Success is never a one-time event. It's a skill, it's a craft, it's a mastery game. It's something that you should always be in pursuit of. I mean, let's look at some of the highest achievers in the world today. People like Oprah Winfrey, people like Serena Williams, Michael Jordan. What do they all have in common? They never stop. Oprah Winfrey, for example, became a billionaire through media, but she didn't stop there. She built a network called OWN, which became the leading voice in personal development and still pushes the boundaries of storytelling and impact. Or, for example, Serena Williams, one of the most notable athletes of all times. We're not going to even say notable female athletes. No, across the board, she is one of the most notable athletes, period. She became a billionaire, or not a billionaire. She retired, but she focused on business and investing and legacy building. She's mastered one game and then moved on to the next. So she mastered tennis, became what I consider the best of all time. And now she is doing so many other things by way of her business. She just doesn't stop. She's relentless. Or think about people like Michael Jordan. Michael Jordan was is one of the greatest examples of what it means to master success. One of his greatest examples is his relentless pursuit of success. As a sophomore, he didn't make the high school team, the high school varsity basketball team. But what that did was it fueled his legendary work ethic. Instead of him giving up, he trained harder and eventually became a 6-time NBA champion, a 5-time MVP, and a global icon. His mindset was, I'm going to take this failure and I'm going to turn it into motivation. And that's what separated him from so many other basketball players across the world. We're talking about millions of people play basketball, and he has done it at the highest level and has become the elite of the elite. He famously said, I have failed over and over and over again in my life, and that is why I succeed. He also made a famous quote that I thought was a very amazing was he says, I never lose. I never lost a game. I just ran out of time. And that is the mindset of someone that is relentless. They have the mindset, I don't lose, I just need more time. Michael Jordan may have lost some games, but because of his relentless effort to keep on moving forward, to get incrementally better, to work on his craft, to never stop working, to be the hardest worker at his skill set, is the reason why he may have lost some games, but he actually won the game of basketball overall. So, what is the difference between successful people and those that remain stuck? Successful people keep pushing, and those that are great never stop learning, adapting, and evolving. Now, let's break it down. I know that we talk all the time and we talk about what we have learned, but let's bring out some real data. Studies show that mastery isn't about talent, it's about relentless pursuit. Have you ever heard of the 10,000 hour rule? Well, research from psychologists Anders Ericsson and also Malcolm Gladwell suggests that true mastery takes 10,000 hours of deliberate practice. That's 20 hours per week for 10 years. So when you look at mastering your craft, it's going to take some time and some relentless effort to be the best at what you do. And I think about things like my guitar playing career, or I guess you would call it a hobby. So I picked up the guitar about 15 years ago and start playing it, but I play it as a hobby. So I oftentimes I look at the people that play the guitar at my church or wherever, and I say, man, they're really good at what they do. And part of the reason why they're so good at what they do is because they spent way more hours than I have when it comes to practicing the guitar. So even if I have spent 500 to 1,000 hours of practicing my guitar and they spent 10,000 to 20,000 hours, who's going to be better? The obvious answer is the person that practiced the most. So when it comes to mastering success, you must recognize that it is going to be a relentless effort where you're going to have to make incremental improvements every single day. You see, the best in the world aren't lucky. They actually put in the time. So before you start saying that someone's better than you should maybe consider what their work ethic is. Another thing about the science of mastering success, the data shows there was a study from Harvard Business Review, and it found that top executives read an average of 50 books per year. So my question is, when is the last time you read one book? Because if you expect to make it to the highest level and to accomplish your full potential, you're going to have to get on board of the ship called continuous learning. Warren Buffett, for example, spends 80% of his time each day reading. So that tells us that learning isn't optional. And just for those that don't know, Warren Buffett is one of the greatest investors of all time, one of the richest men in the world. He understands the power of continuous learning. Data also shows that there is those that are successful have resilience in the face of failure. According to the National, I'm going to throw out just a few more stats. According to the National Bureau of Economic Development, entrepreneurs who fail for the first time with their first business venture were 20% more likely to succeed on their second time. Why? Because they learned to adapt, they learn to keep moving and to never stop. You see, mastery is not about getting it right the first time. It's about staying in the game long enough to win. So my question is, do you have the drive, the stamina to keep moving forward and to accomplish your dreams? Let's bring it full circle, even for me. I've worked with the Small Business Administration for over 16 years. I recently resigned because I wanted to spread my wings into some other ventures. But in the 16 years, I've helped to guide businesses through challenges, difficulties. I've helped people to secure government contracts and showing leaders how to scale. I've built my career on helping people to strategize, to execute, and to get results. What good is it to have a consultant or a person that's helping you with your business that really doesn't bring any results? And so that's what I'm all about, is bringing forth results. By the time you finish listening to this podcast, I want you to be a better person. I want you to feel motivated. I want you to know that all things are possible. So as we begin to turn the corner and as we get ready to close, I want to give you a couple of tips and strategies for how to master success, not tomorrow, but today. I want to give you 4 tips. Okay. So you may be asking, okay, Jeremy, I'm hearing what you're saying. How do I master success? I'm so glad that you asked. I'm so glad that you waited. If you want to master success, you need these 4 things. If you're listening on your way to work, on your way to vacation, wherever you are, I want you to put these things in the notes section of your phone. Number one, if you expect to master success, you must first believe. Now, I want to pause because that's something that needs to settle on the inside of you. You have to first believe. I'm a preacher, I'm a minister. I believe in spreading the gospel, um, God's word to many people. But whether you are a believer in God or not, faith is something that can change your life. Faith says, I believe that something is possible even though it may not be tangible right now. Faith can transform your life in a tremendous way. Faith makes what seems to be impossible possible. And so many people all over the world, motivational speakers, people that have become very successful, they didn't start out being successful. They first believed that they could be successful. In fact, they didn't just believe that they could be successful. They believed that they already were successful before they ever made the $1 million, before they ever got the contract, before they ever started their business. They had a mindset, a belief system that says, I am successful. And it's just a matter of time. Belief is one of the common denominators for you mastering success. And sometimes our belief system is it is formed by others, it's formed by our own experiences, and sometimes we have to reshape what we have our belief system that we've come to know and hold near and dear to us. Think about it like this. You were not born believing anything. You were not born believing that it's hard to make $1 million. You were not born that it's easy to make $1 million. You were not born that it's possible for you to get a big house, a small house. You were not born with any type of belief system. You were not born with the belief system that it's important for you to get an education or it's not important for you to get an education. You were not born with the belief system that a certain relationship is better than the next relationship. What am I saying? A belief system came from some type of external source, whether it was an experience or whether somebody told you, okay, this is what the standard is. Somebody may have told you, man, if you get that $50,000 job, that's phenomenal. You've made it. Or 100,000 is the benchmark for you. And sometimes what people have told us, it actually becomes our ceiling. And so a person tells you, man, if you make $100,000, that's great. And so that becomes our ceiling. Once we get to that point, we feel like we've accomplished. But Myron Goldman said something that I believe is so powerful. Myron Goldman said, we go through life acting as if we believe things because they are true. But the reality is we think things are true because we believe them. That is reminding us that what you think and what you have been taught in your belief system is not always factual. Somebody may have said, man, it's really hard making $100,000, boy. And that was ingrained in you. You believed it, you took it as fact, and now you have this system, this mindset that believes making $100,000 is difficult. But I encourage you today to recognize that maybe you need to transform your belief system. Maybe you need to transform your belief system into something where you assess, who did God make me to be? Maybe I don't need to accept all of these things that were told to me to be true, and I need to come up with my own belief system. Who told you that making $1 million is hard? Who told you that making $100,000 is hard? Some of these things you can accomplish in one day, but because you don't believe, it'll never come to pass. And that's why it's very important that you be mindful of what comes out of your mouth. Because sometimes you say, well, it's going to be hard. Well, that ends up becoming a self-fulfilling prophecy. Well, I'll never be able to accomplish this and that. And it becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy because what came out of your mouth. The Bible says that there is life and death in the power of the tongue. And the scripture also lets us know that as a man thinks in his heart, so is he. So if you don't believe that it's possible, it's not possible. But I want to encourage you today to throw out belief systems that are limiting you, limiting beliefs. Somebody told you that, well, your business is only going to be able to make a certain amount of money. Throw that out. All right. Incorporate your own belief system according to your idea of faith and what God has inspired you to do. God may have inspired. See, God has already placed inside of you the idea of what is possible. He gave you an imagination. Imagine if the Wright brothers just took what everybody else was saying as factual. People said, we'll never be able to fly. The Wright brothers said, you know what? We're taking this idea system, we're throwing it out. We believe that we can fly. And guess what? As a result, all of us, most of us that are listening to this podcast have flown on a plane because they did not accept what was deemed to be factual. They took what their belief system was and said, we believe, we have faith, we know that it's possible. So your belief system is extremely important when it comes to mastering success. You have to believe. Write down your goals, put it in your phone, read it every single day. What I do, and I learned this from my mentor, Heather Monahan, what I do is um, I do this thing called a mindset movie. And if you want to know what a mindset movie is or need me to send you like a template or how to do it, I definitely can do that. But she taught me that a mindset movie is a 2-minute video that you watch every single day, twice a day, in the morning and before you go to sleep at night. And the mindset movie has within it the goals that you want to accomplish. So if you want to accomplish getting a new house, you put it in there. If you want to get a certain car, you put it in there. If you want to, um, make a certain amount of money in a year, you put it in this mindset movie. And in this mindset movie, you watch it twice a day, and it gets down in you and it reminds you that it is possible. So being successful and mastering success starts with belief. You have to have faith. Number two, you have to have a relentless mindset. If you don't believe that you can, you won't. So train your mind to see problems as opportunities. Number three, you have to have a commitment to learning. You have to read, study, and learn from people who have already done it. Success leaves clues, so follow them. Um, Many a times we take advice from people that have never been there. I've heard from people that say, I'm trying to become a millionaire, and I was listening to this guy online, and he was saying this is how to do it. Well, we got to work on listening to people that we know nothing about their background. You go and find out that that person is a fraud. That person doesn't even make $1 million themselves. So why would I be listening to a person who's never made $1 million teach me how to make $1 million? My dad would oftentimes say, "You can't talk about Italy if you've never been there." Okay. The last but not least is you have to have a bias for action. Stop waiting for the perfect time and just move. Make the call, launch the idea, take the first step, stop making excuses. Okay. Um, Bible says, and listen, if you're going to be listening to this podcast, I'm going to be giving you quotes from the most powerful book in the world, and that's the Bible, right? The Bible says that faith without works is dead being alone. So if you intend to accomplish a certain goal, you'll never accomplish it if you don't move, if you don't take that leap of faith, if you don't jump. You'll never be able to arrive at your dreams and your vision. So, success is not about talent, it's about movement, it's about obsessing over mastering your craft. It's about waking up every single day and deciding, I'm going to be better than I was on yesterday. My friends, Samantha Smith, I don't know if she'll watch this much of the podcast, but quick shout out to her. She is over a company called Smith and Co. Event Planning Boutique. Um, she recently said, "Man, your videos are getting so much better than they were just a few months ago." And I definitely appreciate that compliment. But that's just simply me trying my best to improve on my craft. It doesn't have to be in huge incremental steps. No, I'm not in a huge studio. But guess what? I'm going to be making incremental improvements every single day, even as it pertains to this podcast. I'm a keynote speaker, I'm a preacher, I've preached across the nation, but I'm still endeavoring to be a better speaker. And so I'm mastering my craft. I'm getting on this podcast and I'm talking to you to master not just my craft of speaking, but my craft of helping others. And so as I close on today, that's what mastering success is all about. This podcast is not just about inspiration, it's about execution. We want you to leave this podcast with the mindset that I'm going to go out and I'm going to execute. We're just getting started. We want you to take where you are, to go from where you are to a place of greatness. We want you to go from good to great to unstoppable. And the only way that you'll be able to do it is by mastering your craft and mastering success. We want to thank you again. My name is Jeremy Sanford, your personal business growth consultant. I hope this helped you, and we'll see you in the next one.